All right. Hello. For those of you who haven't met me yet and are watching the recording, my name is Erica, and I want to start by saying how truly proud I am for each of you for showing up here tonight. Making the decision to attend a webinar like this or take a course like this isn't easy. It means that you're ready to face some tough truths and take control of your life and start building a healthier and happier future. And that takes incredible courage. So whether you're just beginning to recognize the toxic patterns in your relationships, or you've already started the process of leaving, or you're long gone and still hung up, this is a powerful step towards healing. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. Almost 10 years ago, I found myself in a place that felt incredibly dark. I had just filed for divorce, and I was overwhelmed by feelings of shame, guilt, fear, and I kept asking myself, how did I end up in this position? Most of the people in my life didn't understand what I was going through, and I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone. Because I felt so lost, I almost immediately ended up in a toxic relationship that destroyed my self-worth. But I was hooked on the drama and the back and forth until I finally decided that enough was enough and I needed to end the abusive relationship. I think that was 9 years ago today, actually, just for the record. So for nearly 2 years after that, I stumbled through the process of healing from my divorce and the following relationship on my own. It was painful, it was messy, and it was slow. But I want you to hear this loud and clear. You don't have to do this alone. Healing from a traumatic relationship or a trauma bond and leaving a toxic relationship doesn't have to take years of trial and error like it did for me. With the right tools, guidance, and support, you can begin to feel lighter, stronger, and more in control of your life. And that's why I created this webinar, to share some of the strategies that I wish I had back then, and to give you a roadmap for breaking free from toxic relationships and reclaiming your life. So let's start with a foundational question. What is a trauma bond? You may have heard this term before, but what does it actually mean? A trauma bond is an intense emotional connection that forms in a toxic relationship, where moments of love and kindness are intertwined with periods of manipulation, control, or emotional abuse. It's this roller coaster of highs and lows that creates a bond that is so strong it feels almost unbreakable, even when the relationship is harmful or over. One of the reasons for this is called intermittent reinforcement. It's a hallmark of a toxic relationship. Here's a metaphor that might help you to understand what intermittent reinforcement does to your brain. If you think about a slot machine, why do people keep playing even when they're losing money? It's because of the occasional wins, the unpredictable rewards that gets them hooked. And that's exactly how trauma bonds work. In a toxic relationship, moments of love and connection come sporadically, usually right after a fight or a period of hurtful behavior. These moments of kindness or love or passion make you hold on, hoping that things will stay good, even though the pain often outweighs the good. Clients often tell me that when things are bad, they're bad. But when things were good, they were amazing. And those brief moments of amazing are what keep you hooked. So I want you to, right now, take a moment and reflect on your own relationships. I know both of you that are here live have a relationship in mind. Have there been times when you've been clinging to those rare moments of connection or happiness and hoping that they'll make up for the hurt? So give that a little ponder for a second. If you've been through something like that, or you've had a relationship like that, you are totally not alone. But recognizing this pattern is the first step towards breaking free of this bond. So, why does breaking free feel so impossible? Understanding why it's so hard to leave a toxic relationship is key to breaking free from it. So let's talk about 3 common psychological traps. First, we have cognitive dissonance. This is the mental conflict that happens when your beliefs and your behaviors don't align. Part of you knows that the relationship is toxic, but another part holds on, believing that things will get better or return to how they were in the beginning. And this tug of war, it keeps you stuck in a state of confusion. Next, we have emotional addiction. Toxic relationships tend to be full of drama. Fights, apologies, promises, heartbreak, and the intense emotional highs and lows actually become chemically addictive. Your brain starts to crave the rush of emotional highs and dopamine, and then the emotional lows and the cortisol. So our brains are actually physically addicted to the drama of the toxic relationship. And lastly, we have a fear of loneliness. Let's be real. The idea of being alone can feel terrifying. And after you've been in a toxic relationship, especially if it's been a long time, you don't even know what life looks like without that person. The fear of the unknown can be paralyzing, and it can stop you from taking the steps that you need to escape this situation. So take a deep breath, and I want you to reflect on which of these traps resonates with you most. You might have experienced them all, but what feels like the biggest issue for you right now? Is it the cognitive dissonance, the emotional addiction, the fear of the future? Write it down and help to get it out and acknowledge it. Being aware and acknowledging these traps is the first step towards being able to dismantle them. Now, let's get specific about the patterns and behaviors that create and sustain trauma bonds. Toxic relationships often follow a very predictable cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard. So the first is idealization. In the beginning, everything is perfect. This is when the person may shower you with affection, gifts, attention. This is often referred to as love bombing. It feels amazing. Fairy tale, right? But it's a tactic to get you hooked emotionally. Then we move on to devaluation. Over time, the idealization fades, and criticism, gaslighting, and emotional manipulation can creep in, making you feel like you're walking on eggshells, or maybe even that you deserve this treatment, or that this treatment is normal, or that you will never find anyone better. Finally, we reach the discard. Eventually, the person may withdraw emotionally or even end the relationship, leaving you feeling confused and devastated, only to repeat that cycle later on. Sometimes this pattern repeats for years. Red flags or indicators that you may be in a toxic relationship include things like gaslighting. Gaslighting is when they make you question your reality or feel like your feelings are invalid. Something you may have heard are things like, "I never said that," or "you're crazy." Constant criticism or belittling is also a big red flag. Your partner may say things like, "You're such an idiot," or "You're such a bitch." "You're lucky I love you because nobody else will." "You're a fat slob." "You're lazy." Another is inconsistent behavior, alternating between love and rejection. This goes back to that intermittent reinforcement that we were talking about earlier. One moment, things may feel perfect, and the next, things are terrible. I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. Can you identify any of these patterns or red flags in your own relationships, past or present? Write down anything that stands out. Be honest with yourself. Don't make excuses or justify any of these behaviors. Especially, don't take on the blame for them. So recognize in a factual way, my ex or my current partner says XYZ, or he gaslit me this time, or he said whatever. Awareness is a powerful tool. It is the flashlight that illuminates the path out of a toxic relationship. If you don't see the patterns, you're never going to leave. So, how do we fix it? Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about what you can start doing today to begin your healing journey. Here are 3 practical steps. One is an awareness exercise. I'm not flipping my slides here. Sorry. One is an awareness exercise. So take out a notebook or a journal or type it on your computer, type it on your phone, wherever you are. And I want you to write about moments when you felt confused, hurt, or guilty because of your partner's actions. Be honest with yourself. This exercise will help you to see the patterns more clearly. Did your partner get mad at you and leave you at a party? Did you have to watch what you said because you were afraid of how your partner would react? Did they call you names or put you down so much that you started to believe it? Did they accuse you of doing something that you didn't do? Did they get upset over something small? Give you the silent treatment? Kick you out because somebody else flirted with you? That was one for me. Looking back on my toxic relationship, I can see it all now. But back then, in the thick of it, I always justified it or ignored it. And I took a lot of it on myself. It's very easy for us to justify these behaviors because they're coming from somebody that we love. And when we love the person who is hurting us, we believe that they are hurting us because we deserve it. Or maybe we really did do something wrong. Or maybe we're stupid. Or maybe we are lazy. Or maybe we shouldn't have let that person flirt with us. Or maybe we shouldn't have. The final straw for my toxic relationship was my birthday. I went out for lunch with my brother. And he told me not to come back because it disrupted his plans. So, you know, a lot of these things we take on ourselves. And it's not you. So be honest with yourself when you're writing this list. And I'll give you a little bit of time to do it right now, but I want you to come back to it. And I want you to come back and think of every single thing that you can remember that your partner did to you or said to you that made you feel less than, that affected your self-worth. If he told you you were stupid, if he told you you were lazy or fat or crazy or whatever, what did he say? What did he do? Or she? Whatever. What did he or she do to you that made you feel some way? And think back to how many times you heard that before you started to believe it. So I definitely want you to come back to this list. So the next step is to set small boundaries. Boundaries are essential for healing, and they are essential in every single relationship. But start small. Decide not to engage in arguments that leave you feeling drained, or take time for yourself without guilt. Remember, boundaries are not about shutting other people out. They're about protecting your peace. Lastly, we have detachment. Detachment is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to begin breaking free from a toxic relationship or a trauma bond. Detachment doesn't mean that you stop caring about the other person. It means creating emotional and mental space so you can start focusing on your own well-being. It's about shifting your energy from them to you, and then giving yourself the room that you need to heal and grow. Detachment can feel really challenging, especially if the relationship is still active or you're somewhat involved, or if you've been deeply emotionally invested for a long time. But remember, detachment is not about cutting off your feelings. It's about reclaiming control over them. So let's talk about 3 specific strategies for practicing detachment. So first, we're going to talk about no contact. No contact is exactly what it sounds like. It's cutting off all communication with the toxic person. That means no phone calls, no texts, no social media interactions, and no checking up on them online. It is complete separation. Why is no contact so effective? It removes that person's ability to influence your emotions, and it keeps you from being drawn back into their web of manipulation. It gives your brain and your heart the space that they need to reset and to break that chemical dependence. So here's what no contact might look like. You delete and block their number and social media accounts to eliminate the temptation to reach out or check on them. Create a list of why you're going no contact. That list that we just started earlier is a really good place to start. When you feel the urge to reconnect, revisit that list as a reminder of why this is a vital step for your healing. Use the time and space that you create to focus on taking care of yourself. Find a new hobby, reconnect with supportive people in your life. I know that no contact can feel extreme or even scary at first, especially if you have relied on this person emotionally or if they made you believe that you can't live without them. But every day that you commit to no contact, you're building the strength and proving to yourself that you are capable of standing on your own. Sometimes no contact isn't a realistic option. You may share children with this person, work together, or have other unavoidable ties. In these cases, limited contact is a powerful alternative. With limited contact, what you do is you minimize your interactions to only what is absolutely necessary. The key here is to stay focused, brief, and neutral. This method allows you to protect your emotional space while still handling essential communication. So here's how to practice limited contact. Set strict boundaries about what topics you'll discuss. For example, if you have custody of children, stick to discussing schedules and logistics only. Limit your responses to short, factual, and unemotional answers. That's a huge one. Don't send a paragraph. Yes, no, that's it. Avoid getting drawn into arguments or personal conversations. They don't need to know anything about what's going on in your life right now. Create boundaries for when and how you'll communicate. For example, you might only respond to emails or text messages during certain hours, or avoid replying immediately to non-urgent messages. You're not at their beck and call anymore. Remember, the goal of limited contact is to reduce their influence on your emotions. So by keeping interactions minimal and focused, you can begin to reclaim your mental clarity and your peace. Lastly, we have gray rock. So gray rock and limited contact can go together, but not necessarily. Gray rock is a technique for detaching emotionally when you have to interact with the toxic person. The idea is to make yourself as uninteresting and unreactive as possible, like a gray rock. By not giving them the emotional reactions that they're seeking, you take away their power to manipulate or control you, and they're not going to like it at first. Here's how the gray rock method works. You keep your responses brief and factual, just like limited contact. If they ask how your day was, you say, "It was fine," rather than sharing details that they can use to manipulate you or criticize you, or to evoke an emotional response. Avoid engaging in drama or emotional conversations. If they try to provoke you, stay calm and neutral. Respond with a simple, "I see," or "I understand," or "okay." Don't share personal information. The less they know about your life, the fewer opportunities they'll have to control or influence you. Using gray rock doesn't mean you have to be rude or cold. It's just a way to protect your energy and emotional well-being. Don't engage. It's especially helpful in situations where your limited contact is necessary, like co-parenting or shared workplaces. Each of these methods, no contact, limited contact, and gray rock, serves a very specific purpose depending on your situation. If you're able to, no contact is often the most effective strategy for breaking free entirely. It's really important that when you decide which to use, you're not lying to yourself. Only, what is that going to do for your emotional well-being and your emotional space? So by limiting your communication, that's what we're protecting, your emotional space. So I encourage you right now to take a moment and reflect on which of these strategies feels the most realistic for you in your current situation. Can you go no contact? If you can't, how can you limit your contact and gray rock to limit their emotional hold over you? Choosing a strategy is like the first step in creating the distance that you need to begin healing. It's like committing to something, right? Do I really need to talk to this person? No. Do I need to talk to them about anything other than our children? No. So which method or technique is most effective and most realistic for your situation? So go ahead and think about that, and then we're going to do a short exercise together. So go ahead and close your eyes if you're comfortable, and then take a deep breath in and out. And I want you to imagine yourself standing in a circle of light. It's a safe and peaceful space that is just for you. Outside of this circle is the toxic person or situation. Picture a clear boundary between you and them. This boundary is strong and protective, and it's reinforced by your detachment strategy. So whether that's no contact, limited, or gray rock. Now see yourself interacting with them using your chosen strategy. Maybe it's not responding to a text, keeping your answers neutral, or confidently setting a boundary. Notice how it feels to stay grounded and in control, to protect your peace. Take another deep breath and hold on to that feeling. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Detachment is a skill like any skill. It gets easier with practice. Whether you choose no contact, limited contact, or gray rock, remember that these strategies are tools to help you reclaim your life. Each time you use one of these methods, you're taking a step towards freedom and emotional independence. And that's something to be really proud of. So, what we've just covered tonight is the beginning. I have been working really hard over the past several months to put together a full 6-week program that will help to teach you how to break your trauma bond and how to learn to build a healthy relationship afterwards. I know one-on-one coaching is not always feasible for everyone, so this is an option for kind of a self-guided journey through your trauma bond healing journey. It's broken down into 6 modules, 6 videos per module. They are short because if you're anything like me, your attention span is also short. So the videos are like 6 to 12 minutes, and the breakdown is, so module number 1 is understanding trauma bonds. Module 2 is the role of the mind. We get a little bit deeper into that cognitive dissonance and doing exercises to help that. Module 3 is breaking free, setting boundaries and taking action. Module 4 is healing the emotional wounds. Module 5, reclaiming your identity and your life. And Module 6 is creating healthy relationships moving forward. So this program includes step-by-step guidance, a full 122-page workbook, and individual support to help you heal faster